This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at a full-size notebook. We've been doing a lot of Ultrabooks lately, but we've got the 15.6-inch Lenovo IdeaPad Y580. This is an Ivy Bridge notebook, very powerful. You get a lot for your money with this. This is one of the top-of-the-line configurations. It's only $1,200, but that gets you a quad-core i7 CPU, NVIDIA GT660M graphics with 2 gigs of VRAM, a terabyte hard drive, and a lot more. We're going to look at it now. So here's the Lenovo IdeaPad Y580. This is from their multimedia line, the Y series. We've reviewed several Ys in the past, and this is the latest and greatest that they offer at Lenovo with a quad-core i7 3610QM CPU. That's pretty much your standard quad-core CPU you're going to see in a lot of notebooks. It's also available with dual-core i5s, dual-core i7s, and even faster quad-cores if you really have a need for speed. What's particularly cool about this is that it has NVIDIA GT660M graphics. That's Kepler with 2 gigs of VRAM. So this is a very powerful GPU, and that's definitely an upper-level GPU. Not the absolute top. We're not talking about what you're going to find in the top MSI gaming notebook, but faster than most notebook graphics out there. And no matter which build of the Y580 you choose, you're going to get that graphics card, so there's no thinking, oh gosh, well, they say it starts at $850, but that probably means just Intel HD 4000 graphics. No, they all have switchable graphics between NVIDIA and the Intel HD 4000. You can get it with either a DVD burner or a Blu-ray drive, and again, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get that Blu-ray drive. Some of the lower price configuration models have the Blu-ray drive. Our model does have that. You get an excellent backlit keyboard we're going to take a look at in a minute. Intel Wi-Fi BGN, that's a 2200 module, and Bluetooth here as well. And since it's a full-size notebook, you get a user-replaceable battery that pops out 6-cell, 72 watt per hour battery, and very easy to access internals. We'll also show you that. Lots of ports here as we take a look around. All the indicator lights are right here by the trackpad. On this side we have our Blu-ray drive, USB 3.0 port, USB 2.0 port, that's where you plug in the charger. Yes, it has a fairly large charger, typical of a 15-inch powerful notebook. Your audio jacks, you have your mic and your headphone jack separately. And on this side we've got VGA port for you traditionalists, Ethernet, HDMI, and 2 more USB 3.0 ports, Kensington lock slot, big air vent here, copper heatsink underneath it. So plenty of ports certainly for your money. This is a full-featured 15.6-inch notebook that could be your notebook and your desktop all in one, given the amount of power. On the bottom here, this is where you open it up to actually access the internals, and these are your battery release slots. Little rubber feet, plenty of air intakes. It's only 2 screws that hold this plate on, and this plate fits in nice and tight, unlike some recent notebooks we've seen, say the HP Envy line, where it doesn't have a really good tight fit. This one takes a good deal of force to open. We're going to take a look at it now. Since it's so easy to open, we usually just splice in a photograph because it takes so much to open up an Ultrabook, but this guy's easy to open. So we slide off the plate after removing the 2 screws. Plastic, little metal shielding here, nothing much else to see. Lots of little latches that hold it on. Boy, Lenovo is really making sure this is not going anywhere. And as we take a look, this is your hard drive right here. You have 2 RAM slots. Part of the copper ventilation pipe is showing over here. This is your Wi-Fi card, your Intel card right here. And what do we have over here? We have a little 32 gig Samsung SSD drive. This is for caching, and this is also for you to put stuff on. Often, particularly in Ultrabooks, when there's an SSD to speed up things, you don't have any access to put files on it, but there's about 12 gigs free on this, so you can actually put stuff on it. It looks like a standard mSATA connector, fairly standard mSATA drive shape. And that's pretty much it for your upgradable internals inside. Obviously, the IdeaPad Y580 is not a designer fashionable notebook, and that's one of the reasons why it is affordable. You get what they call dawn gray plastic here, a little bit of metal touch. They have a pretty pessimistic view of the dawn, I guess. It's not a very exciting notebook. It's not a hugely skinny kind of notebook. Weighs 6.1 pounds, but again, this is really a value machine and a machine with a lot of great features that's put together well, so that's why you're looking at it. And by the way, on the front here, we also have an SD card slot, which we didn't mention when we took a look at the sides. So we open it up and take a look inside. So what do we have here? A 15.6-inch 1080p display. Really, really nice looking display. Lenovo does not say what technology this is, if it's IPS, but I tell you, the viewing angles are excellent and the screen sharpness is excellent. It looks like IPS to me. It is a gloss display. That's one drawback for those of you who don't like gloss displays, but it's certainly livable as they go. Nice, bright, very sharp text on this, nice colors as well. Really a pleasure for watching movies. And since this is a multimedia-oriented laptop, well, good times. The very base model that starts for around $850 gets you just a 1366 by 768 display. And when you get up to around $1,000 or so, you got yourself the 1080p display. It's certainly worthwhile. And it's a big enough screen that text is not really too small or hard to see. You can always adjust the font scaling in Windows. And of course, when Windows 8 comes out, this guy's ready for it. And Windows 8 will have more sophisticated scaling. We've got a nice, large, and roomy Synaptics trackpad here. Lenovo tends to have a pretty good trackpad. This is no exception. It is pleasant to use. It supports multi-finger gestures. Nice and wide, buttonless trackpad design. Of course, it does really click if you press down on it, but you're just not going to see any physical buttons to move here. Big wrist rest area here for you to rest your hands on. Keyboard is a little bit inset and makes it comfortable for typing, and the trackpad is offset to the left because we have an embedded number pad here on the right side. Now you don't see that so often on 15.6-inch notebooks. You definitely get it on a 17-incher, and we like that it's here, especially for you gaming types who make use of the number pad. Lenovo had to make a few concessions. The shift key is a little bit small. It's not as big as the one on the left-hand side, but overall, really excellent keyboard too. It's called Lenovo's AccuType keyboard. It's got the little smile-shaped keys, a little curved on the bottom. Very tactile, good amount of travel, not too noisy a keyboard. Excellent, excellent. So this is something for those of you who are taking this to school and actually need to type on it when you're not playing games and watching videos. You're going to like this keyboard. And it is backlit too. It's backlit around the edges of the keys in white. And here's what that backlit keyboard looks like in the dark. Really very nice. The backlighting around the keys is very gentle on the edges, and the letters themselves are masked and bright and easy to see. Above the keyboard we have two large JBL speakers. Typically Lenovo uses those on the IdeaPad multimedia line. Nice full sound, good speakers, and put in a good logical place, not downfiring so that they're muffled. You can hear them quite well. And this uses Dolby Home Theater 4 audio. We've got the power button here, which is glowing right now, and we have our Think Vantage button that's going to take you into Lenovo Recovery and Tools. And here we have a little button that can change the audio and video, you can see right on screen there, to suit what you're doing. So we were just in normal mode there, and then you have options of going into movie mode or intelligent mode, where it tries to look at whatever's being shown on screen and switch to it. So if we choose movie mode, everything gets a little bit more color saturated, but not a huge change there. Normal is just a little bit brighter and wider, and if we switch to intelligent, well, it's just going to try to figure out based on what we're doing. And we have a mute button right up here for the speakers. Always handy. You don't have to run around and find where that is. It's right up there all by itself. The top FN row is your typical set of control keys for things like turning the trackpad on and off, controlling your multimedia playback, and down here we actually have the controls for volume and brightness. You hit the FN key to control those. And likewise, you use the FN key and you can control the backlighting on the keyboard. The IdeaPad has a 720p webcam, and as you saw, it has two DIMM slots for RAM, and ours came with 8 gigs of RAM. You should be able, in theory, to go up to 16 gigs with two 8-gig modules, and most configurations that Lenovo ships come with 8 gigs of RAM, and that's DDR3. As we mentioned, it has Intel Centrino Wireless N2200. That is single band 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and it works with Intel WiDi wireless display. In our tests, we had good throughput and range. We'd love to see dual band there, but oh well, it can't have everything. In terms of synthetic benchmarks, we would expect this machine to do well and to compete with the Dell XPS 15Z and the HP Envy 15, and indeed it does. On 3D Mark Vantage, it scores 9882. That's very good. That's a healthy number right there, as it should for something with an NVIDIA GT660M in it. And on PC Mark Vantage, overall benchmark scores just under 12,000. And for a machine with a conventional hard drive, since SSDs really boost that score up a lot, that's a very good score. Fast machine here, fairly future-proof, certainly if you get that quad-core i7. And even if you get a faster i5 or i7 option there, it's going to be capable enough to handle Photoshop, CAD work, engineering stuff, all the more demanding tests, and certainly Word, Excel, PowerPoint, your web browser, your email, and some streaming video. And for the Windows Experience Index scores, where 7.9 is currently the highest, you can see that it did quite well. For the processor, 7.6, RAM 7.7, graphics for both 3D and Aero are 7.1, and the hard drive is at 6.5. So obviously a very powerful machine here you're getting for your money. The Y580 performs very well with games. You can go up to native resolution, generally at medium settings for today's most demanding games, and that's pretty darn impressive. We're going to have a separate video showing you some games and how well they play. This uses NVIDIA Optimus software, and that means it tries to intelligently auto switch between graphics cards depending on demand, and typically it recognizes games, Photoshop, those kinds of applications properly. Just in case it doesn't, you can right-click on any icon for a program and tell it which graphics card you want the application to run with. So it works pretty reliably. As you can see here, because we have a 1080p display, you can see a full desktop web page very easily. We're at 100% zoom right now. The fonts are a bit small here. You can always zoom in and increase the font size using Internet Explorer's zoom feature, so we'll just bring that up a little bit, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. You can really have a web page and a Word document side by side, no problem, thanks to the 1080p display, which is great for productivity. So we'll bring it up to 125%, and now it's, well, certainly large enough for pretty much anybody to see. Now to test out the JBL speakers, we'll go with one of those sample audio files that always comes with Windows Media Player, so you can hear it. Nice and rich and full. And we're only about a little over 50% volume right now, so pretty loud. Definitely an enjoyable experience to watch a movie and just use the built-in speakers without feeling the need to plug in something external or your headphones. That is, unless you don't want to derange everybody around you. And for video playback, we'll check out some streaming YouTube here. Obviously you can use Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever you want. We're up to full 1080p. Nice screen, good color, everything looking sharp. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the HP Envy Spectre XT Ultrabook. Good playback and audio, video are in sync.
Unlike the Spectre, no Gorilla Glass covering everything.
In terms of the software bundle, Lenovo is good about not putting too much junk on the computer. You've got a bunch of Lenovo drivers and utilities like Lenovo UCam for the webcam. We've got Chrome pre-installed, never going to complain about that. It's a fast browser, the usual MS Office 2010 Starter Edition, and of course Lenovo's recovery tools. How about battery life? A big machine like this, well, you know, you don't expect much from the battery, do you? It actually does pretty well. We were hitting almost 5 hours on integrated graphics, folks, you know, with the screen brightness set to about 40%, which is pretty bright on this display. So it's fairly capable, and that 6-cell 72 watt per hour battery, well, that's an ample battery. Now, what are you losing with this? You're losing your sense of style and fashion, I'm sorry to say. Obviously, this is your average looking notebook. You get really good quality components here, good build quality, the thing is solid. It's not particularly thin, it's not particularly stylish, it doesn't give you fancy metal finishes, but nonetheless, we'll show you what it looks like compared to the HP NV15, which is a notebook that puts an eye on fashion and costs $1,300. And here we have the HP NV15 sitting on top of it, a somewhat lighter notebook by about a pound. You can see they have really about the same footprint here, though. Okay, lifting up about 11 pounds right there. Show you both of them. Same footprint. Now, when we put them side by side, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. You can see how much thinner the HP is, especially because the Lenovo gets thicker at the back, so it's actually more pronounced as you reach the rear of it. Now both of these guys do have 1080p displays that are both very nice, glossy, quad-core i7 CPUs, strong graphics card, though you just get a gig of video RAM with the HP. That's not the end of the world. You get Beats audio on the HP. They both sound very nice, honestly. And now we've got it with a 15-inch MacBook Pro, which is a 15.4-inch device, so as you would expect, it's not going to be quite as wide going this way. Not a huge amount of difference. Obviously the Mac goes for the high style thing. It also costs a lot more too. If we look at the thickness difference, Mac being even thinner than the Envy, so quite a difference there, but again, you're going to spend more money on this Mac as well. Now with the Mac, the one thing is there is no 1080p display option. You have to move up to the MacBook Pro Retina display for that, and obviously that's a lot of money. In terms of CPUs, you're looking at the same starting Core i7 3610M family of CPUs, and you get NVIDIA GT650M graphics with 1 gig of VRAM and the MacBook Pro 15-inch. So that's the Lenovo IdeaPad Y580. It's available now. Our configuration is tested. Pretty nice stuff. Costs you about $1,200. You might get it for a little bit less because Lenovo always has those aggressive coupons. It's a notebook we can strongly recommend in the 15.6-inch class of machines for those of you who are looking for something that can both do desktop stuff and be your portable machine, assuming you don't mind carrying around 6.1 pounds. It pretty much has everything you can want, from Blu-ray to a great 1080p display to backlit keyboard that's a pleasure to type on, good internal components, excellent performance, and yeah, it can really game too. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.